Painted Bride Quarterly's podcast, The Slush Pile. Woo!
That's me not.
Oh, and then the me. Let's start with Marion because it's such a wonderful thing. As our loyal listeners know, we're very happy when Marion can be in the studio, and she's here today. So I think you should introduce yourself first.
Hello.
And
we are holding hands. We are actually holding hands across the table. We should all.
I would love to hold hands, but I can't.
Really. It's a little contagious today. Hi, it's Marion. I'm here in your time zone, and happily so. Been co-editing Painted Bride with Kathleen for a little while now, and I direct the writing program at NYU Abu Dhabi. And across the table from me, refusing to hold my hand.
I'm sorry. I would love to, but I am Ali Ziabash. I am a senior here at Drexel. I am coming into my last 3 months as co-op here at Painted Bride Quarterly.
Sorry.
Go ahead. And that's it. And that's it.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, right now I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. So
yeah, he's sick. Yeah, well, as you also know, we're recording this in the first week of January. Who knows when you'll be listening to it? Mm-hmm. But it's flu month in Philadelphia.
So, how many people have had a flu shot, and should I get one? Because now I feel like I'm swimming in a Petri dish. You got one, right? Yeah.
I usually get one, but I have not gotten one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm on the CBD now.
Yeah. I do know you're on the CBD.
It takes care of everything.
I do know you're
everything.
on the CBD.
I'm crediting it with everything.
All right.
Yeah, I was in and out of the hospital those whole 2 weeks. You know what I did? I took B12 and vitamin C. Visiting my father in the hospital. I wasn't in the hospital, but I did think, I'm coming in and out of a hospital. I'm taking B12 and vitamin C. And look at me. I'm still standing.
You're radiant. You're radiant.
Yeah. Here, I'm going to, my friend Marcy's going to get real mad at me for this because I should save it for when we start marketing our own brand of CBD. But I am not taking sleep medicine for the first time in 15 years.
Wow.
I'm eating a delicious CBD gummy. I kid you not.
That's amazing.
Yes, and I'm having beautiful movie-length dreams. and when you check on my Fitbit and you check the app, for the sleep, deep REM sleep, my deep sleep is higher than average. And it used to be like one little blip on that chart.
The automated body, right? Like, listen to how we go to sleep these days, right? Like, I fall asleep with earbuds in because I'm listening to podcasts or a meditation app, right?
Nobody sleeps to us, though, right?
No,
right? Nobody sleeps to us.
Not
but
yet.
Like the Fitbit, the iPhone, the earbuds, the iPads, like the technology that's in bed with you.
I am wearing technology.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
But I do
We're
like to check my sleep when I wake up.
Cyborgs. Anyway,
I like it.
CBDs and cyborgs. I think that's a combo.
So, CBD. It's amazing. 15 years of sleep meds.
All right.
Yeah. Here's to that.
Yeah, we're all raising a glass in the general direction of health. Yes. And
iced coffee.
A flu-free New Year.
Right. So it's a very small, intimate group here to discuss these poems. But interestingly, there are 2 flies on the wall. Both of them damn adorable. Adorable. So that's our new for today. We're being observed by one would-be sound engineer and one marketing guru publishing tract. Awesome chick. All right?
Okay.
All right.
You
have anything to say? You want to yell from the bandstands?
Say hello.
Just say hello.
Hi.
Okay. All right. So let's do this thing.
Yes.
This thing that we do, which is we cull through the submissions as we do, and every time we are struck by one that we think would work well on the podcast, we write those authors and say, "Hey, can we talk about your work in a public forum?" And you won't even know if we're saying yes or no until you listen. And they go, God, that's the scariest thing I've ever heard. Yes. And they really, truly, they do. So it's awesome. And we really appreciate it. And we really appreciate Emily Cousins being the latest one to say yes. And that's who we're about to move into now. Emily Cousins. We have 3 poems by her. And we're going to start off with Refuse to Write You. Well, there's 3 of us. How about that?
That's a nice combination. Can I read the first one?
Yes, you may.
I want to read this poem by Emily Cousins. I'm thrilled to be able to discuss these poems every time we sit down to this podcast. I want to say this to the universe too. Like, I feel so lucky to be a reader on these pieces with really smart readers too. Like,
Yeah.
that it's a real gift, right? To do poetry this way. So thank you, Emily, in advance. And here we go. Refuse to write you. You weary of me, I pull back, fade. What? Back up a minute. That's right. Sorry. All that praise and I just botched it. Joe, you're going to kill that section. Right?
He won't. He likes the flubs.
Yeah. He does really?
Yeah. We have no blooper reel.
all right.
It is the blooper reel.
Emily, truth be told, when we read this before the podcast and that first line stumped me in my mind and it stumped me out loud, but that's not a bad thing because listen to this poem on the page, right? You weary of me, I pull back, fade. We fight something petty, get mean. Pull the blankets between us. Let our dreamless bodies push up a mountain to divide us. Give you all the ugly I can muster. Refuse to write you a love poem for fear it will be the last one. The things we do to each other in the name of heterosexual love, in the name of the parts we play. Your breath, a slow exhale into the night. Now we start another year together, and I will tell you I am happy, and you will fall asleep. And the fireworks will pop in the distant sky. We vampire, plunder our past selves, and feeling gray, backlight, night, gray curtain, sleeplessness as you turn in dream. After 6 years, I do not know if I will leave you, if I will leave here, so little interest some days. Will you be the one to hold my leaving in you? Hold the room with me gone from it. None of me in it, none of you in me, none of the taste of me on your mouth. Tenderness is no longer easy to find. Just wait for someone to linger with, to keep the loneliness, to make the want a little less. Right? But I keep coming back to that first stanza, the way it's sort of like, it refuses to tick-tock into a rhythm that lets you read it, and then you're in it. Right? Like I get jumbled.
I'm not as jumbled as you at all. I totally,
really,
yeah.
I get so jumbled. You read that first stanza then. Go ahead.
You weary of me, I pull back, fade. We fight something petty, get mean. Pull the blankets between us. Let our dreamless bodies push up a mountain to divide us.
Okay. Yes. But those first two lines, I'm insisting, resist me.
Yeah.
So
do you feel that way?
Yeah.
It's a reference to camera movement.
What?
Well, fade. I pull back, fade.
Nice. Okay. That first line, that makes sense, right? Nice.
Yeah.
We fight something petty, get mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I think that's what, the way I did that, I think there are no commas, but if you give those pauses, I pull back, fade.
Yeah.
We fight something petty.
Yeah.
Get mean.
Right.
Right? Like, yeah. Anyway, beautiful reading. And what an amazing poem. I'm revealing all my cards for people on this poem. I know. I don't care. Okay. I'll do the same thing. Smack in the middle. I always go for the middle, right? Mm-hmm. Right in the middle. And the fireworks will pop in the distant sky. I cringed. Mm-hmm. But then we vampire, plunder our past selves and feeling. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay, redeemed. Mm-hmm. A cringe and a redeem in one stanza for me.
There's a lot of good imagery that I liked in this, like the blankets, comforters as mountains between us in the bed. But I will agree that the fireworks, I didn't really like the We Vampire either.
Oh, okay.
Kind of just gave me but there's a lot of really good imagery in this otherwise. We Vampire at another point I might not have dug, but I like it after the fireworks. Mm-hmm. Somehow it did the juxtaposition. Mm-hmm. It was more of a surprise, a vampire after fireworks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I dug it.
Well, right. So the mild problem I have with it is I refuse to write you a love poem.
Yeah.
Right.
I felt like that song that you always hear. I'm not going to write you a love song.
Right.
How's that song go?
I'm not going to sing the rest for you. Maybe at another time after a few shots or something. But.
Yeah. So for me, that's it's a little on the nose, right? So and it's on the nose, sitting in a line that doesn't tumble me, right? So I think my the lack of commas in the poem and the way the lines are jammed with the way they're flowing, she's not giving the reader a clue to how to read them at the end with the ends of lines, right? So even that, right? So, and the fireworks will pop, pause, in the distant sky, right? That's the thought there, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, and the fireworks will pop in the distant sky. Then the next thought is we vampire and plunder our past selves, right?
You just put an and in there.
That's right.
Right?
It's funny.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm sticking the and in, but that's because the next thought is broken, right?
Sure.
Which I think comes back to the fact that I actually at first didn't like the taxing, right? Reading the way it's taxing me, but then ultimately actually fits with the poem's idea,
Right?
That you think it's smooth sailing, and this is like a deeply broken relationship, right? And so these lines are breaking in weird spots, and the breath pattern is a little bit tricky and challenging.
Yeah.
So I think that's actually good. However, the fireworks popping and the I won't write you a love song is a little on the schnozzola. And there's an arm up over there. Kathleen, go.
I'm going to defend that title.
Go ahead.
In the same way that you're saying, okay, and I also disagree. I don't know if it's a deeply broken relationship. It's 6 years in, and it's a moment of, I don't know.
Okay.
It's a moment of, I don't know, which, as I read it, so the refuse to write you this is not a love poem. I refuse to write you. I refuse to write you. I also don't know if I'm staying. I don't know if I'm going. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about the fact that it isn't fully fleshed out. Refuse to write you. I also refuse to commit. I refuse to acknowledge that we're going to be together forever. I refuse, or, right. I think it's refusing a lot. I mean, we can discuss that. We can certainly ask for a revision if, more of you are against it. But I see the intent, and it doesn't bug me, and I dig it.
I dig the title, Refuse to Write You. It's just the second stanza, second line, right? I refuse to write you a love poem, right? Like when that becomes the point, that's when I go, right? But however, all that is next to the fact that I find this quirky and interesting and a fun poem to read in its sadness.
So the things we're calling flaws, or you're calling flaws, the title, and we all agreed that the fireworks a little schmaltz.
Right.
Is it redeemed with other lines? You also don't like the vampire, Ollie.
I think so. That's a lot of good.
There's more good. Listeners, also remember that you can look at this poem on the on-screen page if you want to read along and see what Marion's talking about with the enjambment and the line breaks. So there's that.
Yeah. So all that to say, I really just that image of falling asleep pissed off next to someone you love, that's compelling, right? Like that's a real life thing, and somebody once told me never do that, right? In life, never try not to go to sleep pissed off.
Sure, that's a
right?
thing, right?
With your beloved, right? Because when it starts to happen, it does feel like a mountain between you.
That's why you need CBD.
That's right.
They should take some CBD
for their relationship.
See earlier conversation. Yep. Well, what do you think? Do you want to talk more about it? Do you feel like you're?
I was looking at that ending again.
What were you looking at?
I was trying to determine if my initial thought that it's not necessarily busted yet.
So little
it's in a bad
someday.
place, the relationship, but I was just looking for another textual clue at the end there, but
I love that image, right? Will you be the one to hold my leaving in you? Right? Like if I leave you, you're going to be the one to carry the emptiness, right? I'll leave that God-shaped hole in you, right?
Right.
And I'm out, right? Like, that's good. That's good stuff. That's some good stuff there. Hold the room with me gone from it. None of me in it, none of you and me. That is some writing. That's some good writing right there. I know you refused to write it, but you wrote it.
You wrote it, Emily
That's all right,
Cousins.
Emily Cousins.
All right, let's vote.
All right.
All right.
All right. Can we close our eyes and do it? Can we do that? Can we close? I'm so used to.
And the point is,
I'm so used to voting from afar. It is like having my eyes closed. So it's very strange to see you vote in person.
But it's awesome.
Okay, ready?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, ready?
You can do it with fists.
Are we gonna do like on 3 or 1, 2, 3, go? Like
1, 2, 3, vote.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, vote. Did you really have dramatic tension there?
I did.
Yeah. Well,
I
it's
closed my
unanimous
eyes.
and it's in. Thank you,
Yay.
Emily Cousins. All right.
Right.
2 more to go.
And-
Let's build up some dramatic. What will happen next? What will happen with this brief one?
Listeners, you will be surprised to know these poems look very different from each other.
The next 2 are both real short. Do you want to pick one? You want to do this one or the next
Do you want to
one?
pick one for me?
You do this one.
Okay.
Which one?
To make space.
Okay.
To make space. Watch the clouds move fast at sunrise. Gift myself the moment, a place to try to be grounded. Imagine self, a seed, to fold forth from within. No, to go back to unknow, to unfind. To make space for change, not progress. To let it come.
Thank you.
Nice.
Okay, so as we said, this one's shorter, and it's the whole structure is different. We've got some M dashes in there.
Mm-hmm. And it reads like a prayer, doesn't it? Right? Or a meditation, some sort of
A mantra, yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Like as you were reading it, I seriously wanted to sit cross-legged and put my fingers on my knees, or just sort of namaste.
Yeah.
To make space. Yeah. Which I don't know. That's a love. Like thinking about that too. Like holding a literary magazine in your hand and flipping through pages and coming across a poem like this, right? Does the work of creating that space, right? Like that's what a poem can do too. Like hold space for you to just be mindful.
This poem in particular reminds me a lot of like a particular tarot card called the Tower. It's about like getting rid of the things in your life that you need to in order to grow as a person, and like, cutting out like the cancerous things in order to, expand your horizons, essentially. The getting rid of the old in order to make way for the new.
But and it's that word new that I'm gonna sound like a jerk here, right? But like, is this fresh? Is it new? Have we seen this before? Like, what's happening with this poem? Like, I actually love the idea of coming across it in a book and having it give me space to breathe. But is it doing it in a way that feels new, right, or fresh? And is that a demand? Do we hold that as a measure for saying yes or no to a poem?
In a way, yes.
I would
right?
think
We
so.
wanna be, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't. Do we hold this? The lack of any image
Mm-hmm.
is a little leaves me wanting.
But so there is an image, right? And it's the seed, right? But it's so like it's like a more symbol than image. Right?
Absolutely,
Like
yeah.
more
That's
symbol
what I was
than-
gonna
like it doesn't
exactly what I was gonna
actually
say.
Give you the specificity of like crumpled sheets.
Right. It's the only noun. I mean, not the only noun. It's the only image, but it's a seed to fold forth from within. That's not an actual seed.
Mhm.
I'm not seeing that seed.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I'm still not seeing it
Right.
because it's symbolic.
Right. Which is also like, kind of the point of the mantra too. Like you don't want to be hung up in the actual images. You want to be mindless, right?
Right.
Selfless.
Right. Yeah. I love the thought of this in
Yeah.
these mindful times, right?
Mhm.
I love the message, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I kind of agree. It's kind of like this, you get this sequence of like where you're laying in a field, you see the clouds moving above your head, and then you get the picture of the seed unfolding and sprouting life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've seen that a few times before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Watch the clouds move fast at sunrise. Yeah, there's images, but maybe I discounted them too because they're so ubiquitous,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Right. Right. And I think that's an interesting problem too for poets, right? So you've got the sort of like these images that are coming to play are so common, right? That they sort of slide past the reader, right? So you're not necessarily paying attention to the very thing you're asked to pay attention to, which I think is also a super cool mantra, right? You know? So yeah.
Well, right. This is where I think for me, the conclusion I'm coming to is what we often talk about. Like, I want something, I want a takeaway, I want something to resonate, I want to recall the poem, and I'm not going to.
Right.
It's that simple.
And it's funny too, like that if we're talking about it as a discrete poem, not a mantra, but a poem, right? Like then what's the project of the poem, right? And if it's, if you're a reader who like needs that feeling of like resonance and transformation,
satisfaction,
right?
Yeah,
right.
I need those
payoff for the reading, right? And the payoff for me here is just, it's funny to make space, like the space that this holds, right? It doesn't deliver a punch to the heart, it really is just space, right? But I don't know that would be enough for me,
right,
as a poem.
Well, we do have one more from Emily. So shall we vote?
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you, Emily. We're going to pass on that one, and we're going to move on to With Fruition.
You read that, Kathleen.
I guess it does.
It's your turn.
My turn in this quiet small group we have. With Fruition. A fly makes its way inside in January. Fat like the hot nights, with fruition comes decline. Put the self through a sieve, await a messenger.
All right, she gives,
like a haiku. I want to read it again.
I know. Do it again.
It's so short, right?
Yeah.
I want to read it again. It feels like a haiku. That's certainly not a haiku, but it feels like it once.
Cousins. This batch is so interesting, right? Because these second two poems really read like haiku. Right?
Yeah.
So do it again.
Okay. With Fruition. A fly makes its way inside in January. Fat like the hot nights. With fruition comes decline. Put the self through a sieve. Await a messenger. It's almost like separate aphorisms.
Except that second one seems to comment on the first one.
Right.
And then the idea, right? With fruition comes decline.
Yeah. I hear you, and I thought that at first, but the second time about the 1 and 2 connecting. But flies, I've definitely thought flies look fat at times, right? You can get like that squat, fat fly. But the flies inside in January, fat like hot nights is so not January.
Yeah.
Is the fly what's fat, or is that just another?
Well,
is that another
hot night as like you're inside in January and you got the heat cranked, right? Like that's my mind went like, oh yeah, okay, hot nights in January, I can see that.
I was thrown immediately into summer with a hot night. Because a hot night to me is like that all-encompassing. That fat hot night is like all-encompassing heat.
Where's the author from? Southern Hemisphere.
That's I grew up in Florida, so
January is
January. I mean, it's warm.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi in January is like 70 degrees. It's not exactly hot, but
on a good day,
lovely,
70 degrees.
Right?
Yeah.
It's lovely.
You guys really didn't want me to look up where she's from, did you?
No. But like I kind of dig this. That turn in the middle, right? With the fruition comes decline. Just as an interesting idea, right?
I mean, like flies only live for what, like 2 or 3 days, something like that.
Yeah.
Longest, right?
Is that right?
Yeah, it's like they have a very short lifespan.
Okay.
So it's kind of like,
do they?
It's very short.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. So here's this With Fruition poem, and it's really focused on transience and I don't know what, like mutability and change, and and then it's again, the awaiting the messenger at the very end. Put the self through a sieve, await a messenger. I take your point. They do really feel like separate, like koans almost, you know?
And, I really don't like await a messenger.
No.
Wow, do I not like it?
Really? Okay.
Really don't like it.
Yeah.
And so to end with that for me is problematic.
Yeah.
Our buzzword from last night. Await a messenger. It's just so like await a messenger. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Listeners, what you missed is a yoga move,
Your
right?
prayer hands from Kathleen.
We've got prayer hands and namaste.
One dive up, back.
Yes.
Hands to heart. That's what I want to do after I read this poem.
Yeah. So
it's like the other one, right?
The Emily Cousins batch here is so fascinating, right? Because it's the kind of spaciousness of these two smaller poems, and the like the Zen-like knowledge, right? Like the sort of like these are insight poems, right? Or they're not, you know, even though this one has way more images than the first of the smaller, right, poems. Its impulse seems to be on the idea, right? And not an argument, certainly. There's no like, you know, essaying going on in this poem. It really is just like, you know, with fruition comes decline, right? A little fly is trying to get inside in January.
I mean, I feel like the first half of the poem is so good, and it really loses it after like putting the self through the sieve. I feel like that's just so on the nose. With
you don't like that line either, right? Yeah.
There's so many things where you're trying to refine yourself, take out all the bad things. It's very similar to the last poem in that. I mean, that's not fair, but at the same time,
no, I hear you. I mean, and I agree with you too that they're different from one another. But this tonally is like the last one, where it's just this meditative, you know, piece.
Yeah.
We ready to vote?
I believe so.
All right, let's do it to it. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3, vote. All right, Emily, thank you so much. We're going to go with the first poem only of this batch, Refuse to Write You, passing on the other two.
Great poem.
1 out of 3 ain't bad. Let's play that song on this episode, Joe.
Yes.
We've got 2 songs. I'm not going to write you a love song, and
what's the other song?
I just did it.
Oh.
But it's 2
2
out of 3.
That's
you know that song, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
That's right. And right, that's right. And isn't there a 70s song too? I'm not gonna write you a love song.
Yeah.
Is that the one that got remade currently?
No.
I've only heard the most recent one.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, thank you. We're honored to do this, as Marion said.
And thrilled with Refuse to Write You. It's a great poem, and I'm stoked it's going to be in PBQ. So
Yippee.
thank you, Emily Cousins.
Yippee-ki-yay. Love it, love it, love it. And listen, think about it. Like you're gonna remember that one.
Yeah.
All of us are, our listeners are, our readers are later. Like so much to still mull and think
ponder.
about it. Yeah, it's gonna stay. It's gonna stay. Yeah, I love that. All right, listeners, thank you very much. And write us, tell us what you think of us, of our singing, of CBD, of our thoughts, and write us with questions and all those things. And